This episode of the Survivor 50 Files is brought to you by our friends over at Manta Sleep. Summertime is officially here. The days are longer, the sun is brighter, and while all of that extra daylight can feel energizing, it can quickly sabotage your sleep. Later sunsets disrupt your body's circadian rhythm, making it harder to fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling refreshed. That's where Manta Sleep comes in. Whether you're blocking out daylight or tuning out the sounds of summer nights, taking control of your sleep environment helps you get deep, restorative rest no matter how long the sun stays up. I love this sleep mask. When we looked for a sponsor for this podcast, they were the first company that I jumped to. I bought one of these during COVID. I was sleeping very poorly. I had a lot of anxiety. This doubled the quality of my sleep. I am loyal to it, and I've been influencing for this way longer than this podcast. Visit the Manta Sleep website and use our discount code 50files. That's 50 FILES for 10% off your order. Discount code is 50files, 50 FILES. Let's get to the show. What is going on, everybody? We are back with another episode of the Survivor 50 Files. Today we're talking Rick Devens. I should have listened to his, his little intro thing, so I could have done it. I didn't do that. Not prepared, but we have a great guest. One of my favorite players of all time. When I got voted off, I said, sometimes when you play Survivor, you're David Wright. I was David wrong. It's a great line. Didn't make my final words. It's David Wright. David, how are you?
Dun, 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 dun. This just into the Survivor newsroom. Christian Hupicki is still talking. Q is still canceling Christmas, and Rick Devens still in the game. There you go. That's all I got. I'm doing well. How are you?
Did you write that for him? Because he's going to say that word for word. That's pretty on the money.
Yeah, I heard he's actually, like, as we know, the game is happening right now. He's still recording cameos. The guy doesn't quit. By the way,
so funny.
I've got my RHAP mug that Rob gave me like 8 years ago.
Listen, you, David Wright, I'm telling you, there's been few people that I've seen on Survivor that made me want to go play more than I thought I already did, and you are one of those people. So I'm so thrilled that you're here chatting.
No, it's so cool to be here to talk to you. Yeah, we were talking a little bit beforehand, and we remembered that we actually met before you ever played Survivor, but after I had my first time in Hearts of Reality in Florida in 2017.
Look at us. And now we're here.
We're here.
We're talking about Rick Devens.
Rick Devens. Oh, shit. I thought, oh, crap.
Listen, this is a free-for-all. We're cursing.
Okay, all right, good.
Rob's not here. Rob's in Scotland.
Oh, yeah. What's he going to do?
Do you watch The Traitors? Are you a Traitors fan?
I love The Traitors. I mean, here's the thing. I love The Traitors. I love watching it. It's kind of ridiculous, like how weighted it is for the Traitors to win. It's like you can kill them and then they just respawn because obviously we have to get to like 12 episodes. That said, I love it. It's so much fun to watch.
Would you rather be traitor or faithful if you were traitors?
Oh, traitor, definitely. That's the fun. I mean, because if you don't have to be. Well, I mean, I guess traitors don't always know who the other traitors are. But yeah, it's way more fun. You know more, and you can just it's just fun to lie.
It's fun to lie. I love lying. Nobody loves lying with me. On your two tours of Survivor, David, I feel like you had a great 2 times. You had a really fun, really exciting 2 times that I think that a lot of folks who go back and they do a second round, like it doesn't always go, I feel like, as well. But I feel like you had a good trip twice.
Yeah, yes and no. Certainly people have had worse, but
people have had worse.
Yeah, well, yeah, but yeah, I wish it had gone a lot better than it did. And obviously I was relieved to get the edge conceit. So there was a safety net. Of course, it didn't end up. I had like advantages that I got on the edge to get back into the game. Didn't matter. I don't know. I think I'm just terrible at challenges.
Well, you're talking to the right guy, my friend.
Okay, good. Yeah, simpatico.
Let's talk about Rick Devens. Are you guys in the Edge of Extinction pregame? Are you with the other 14 folks, or you guys are actually on a separate resort, and then you joined it that first day?
The way it worked who knows how it works these days, but the way it worked with me is Kelly and I, Wentworth, were on our own little island. And then we didn't know about Joe and Aubry. We only met them, I think, 20 minutes before the game started. They pulled up in a boat like, oh, Joe and Aubry. It's like, and I know Aubry. It's like, damn, I wish I had wish I'd mentioned to Aubry beforehand that I was going to be playing a second time, and wish she had mentioned to me. Obviously, it didn't matter. We were on different tribes, but yeah. So I don't know how they would do an entire returnee season of now. I guess what 22 players or 20 players?
20,
22,
24. We got
24.
24 people out there in
That's
26 days. We're doing 24 people.
That sounds kind of awful, but for them, I mean, but yeah. Sorry, do you think that they're going to do a? I feel like this would be just so cruel in this era. But do you think they're going to do the thing where like they instantly eliminate one person at the beginning of the season, like they have in past?
Well, like with an expedited timeline, the theory that people are floating around is that only one tribe will win immunity out of 3, and then it'll be 2 tribes going to tribal council for those first 5, I guess, cycles to get down to 12.
That's
But
good.
that's 5. I do my theory, which I don't know if I've said on here. I think we're going to expand into the 2-hour episode for at least the first couple weeks, because it's going to be so much
It
content.
is. It is
90. The Australian Survivor seasons. Which do you watch the Australian Survivor?
I used to, but it's been a long time. I'm not caught up.
They have folks who are on there who will go to episode 8, 9, 10, and they will have one confessional. And I don't think that they want to do that with like their prized group that they've now put together.
Yeah.
Which Rick Devens, your good friend. If Rick Devens is going to get one confessional, he's not going to get one confessional. He's going to get so many more.
Yeah, probably. He's gonna, you know what? Reddit is gonna love it because they love when people get screen time. Yeah.
What was you get back to your camp? What was your first impression of Rick Devens after having talked with him a little bit?
Oh, I instantly connected with him and felt that, I'm so like relieved because, you just don't know what to expect meeting new people. And I instantly had a rhythm with him. And he's hysterical, which this is back when it was a 39-day game. But for that length of time is all you want out there, to laughter, like it's a stress reliever. And he's just a hoot to be around. And so I think not to get ahead of this or any of your questions, but I think if Rick can get to Final Tribal, and obviously it's a big if, but if he can, I think he's got a great chance of winning because he is so likable, and he plays very hard too. So there's things to reward.
Yeah, he also is coming into this with, I think, a huge advantage where he did get voted out in the pre-jury his first time playing. He is the only person of this 24 people who has had that happen to them. I don't know what the advantage is to that, but I think that's something.
I think it is. I mean, once you've gone through it, you know what that feels like. You know how you're going to react to it, and hopefully he can avoid it this time. And the thing is, going back to like his challenge prowess in the challenges, I sent him an advantage from the edge. And then when I got to tribal, I saw that he was wearing the immunity access. I'm like, oh, great. My advantage helped him. And then I watched it on TV. It's like, he didn't even need my advantage. He was doing great in the challenge. He was going to win it anyway. So I feel really great about his chances.
Yeah, he's an underrated challenge beast. And I feel like when people are looking at this like cast graphic, which we can show is, you have your Aussies, you have your Joes, you have your Colbys, from days of yore. But Rick was pretty good. Really pretty good at those later half of the challenges.
Really, really good. I mean, not only, individual, and I think also team. He was always pulling his weight. I don't think I always was, but he definitely was.
You and me both, my friend. Did you find that his business that he's in, like when he was newscasting and then jumps to Survivor, was that an advantage to him, do you think, of knowing how like television production works in a way that the other people that are on the team maybe don't?
I'm not so sure about knowing how production works, but I think being comfortable instantly from the minute your boots hit the ground and being comfortable in front of the camera, I think that's very helpful. A lot of people can get a little gun shy, and especially at tribal, because you feel like anything you say at tribal probably is going to end up on the air, especially if you're not saying that much. So you better say something good. But yeah, I think like being comfortable in front of the camera, I think is a big advantage for him. But also, when he was like newscasting and going out on field reporting and stuff and interviewing people, strangers, he just has a way of connecting with strangers. And the thing is, these aren't really strangers. He probably has met maybe almost all of the cast members that are happening right now playing this season. So yeah, I think he's propped up it's his game to lose.
Yeah, he is a really interesting like survivor cast. Like I feel like in season 38 you don't see a lot of people like him. And I think that Aubry, I think in season 32, and I think you inspire a whole new wave of casting where I feel like he is there because of blueprints that were laid before him.
I mean, I feel like we all kind of like have the guy or girl, woman who was there first. Like for me, I think like Cochran is like what inspired me to play Survivor. That's when I saw myself, I feel like, the first time. But I mean, really, you can go back before Cochran and you got Fishback and Rob. I mean, honestly, he's kind of the not quite on the level of nerd that Cochran maybe is or whatever, but and my God, Christian Hubicki is the poster child now for that archetype. But and I guess we didn't. I guess did we have any newscasters? I mean, before Rick, I'm trying to think.
I don't think so. He's
Okay.
just like for like the dad age guy to be so like exuberant and funny. Like I feel like it was a new like spin on something that we had seen quite a few times. Have you, David? Have you been watching Survivor linearly, or have you taken time off?
I always watch it. Like I never miss an episode. I don't have the same relationship that I had with it before playing. Um, I don't think I'll ever go back, say, and watch Pearl Islands or whatever. Which before I played Survivor, I watched seasons again and again, and I just really loved it. Now I don't quite get the same thing out of it that I did before playing, but yeah, I'm caught up. I've seen every episode.
I think you yourself and Aubry both inspire this wave of casting, whereas you guys you had a transformational experience in this really complicated game. And I feel like the new era really has leaned into like they are looking for folks who want that transformational experience whilst the game is happening around them. Is that any thought that you've had while watching it? You see a lot more folks who are going to like break out of their shell, if you will, or they're looking for something from Survivor that isn't just that $1 million that you and Aubry were looking for. You had this transformational experience along the way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we see that a lot now, And I honestly, I always get kind of nervous when I see the bio package or whatever come up, or when they start, digging deeper into who they are off the island and maybe the struggle that they're going with. I'm like, oh no, maybe they might be going home tonight. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So they keep you guessing. But yeah, that's definitely a huge aspect to the show now. And I think like obviously for anybody trying to get cast, don't make anything up. But if you have any kind of personal struggle or something you're trying to overcome or have, I think that's a thing you better be putting in your audition video.
For sure. Listen, you see it a lot more now, and I think that your story of this evolution that you have, I mean, what do you think that Survivor, like, if you had to put a word on it, or a couple, what did Survivor give you? Like, what's the lesson that now 8 years later, what's the thing that you carry with day to day that you didn't have before Survivor?
I mean, for me, the what it really was, it was liberating because I think before Survivor, I mean, I still have anxiety. Obviously, it doesn't take your anxiety away. Nothing really could, but it gave me kind of permission, I think, to be myself and to be comfortable in my own skin and not feel like I had to hide my insecurities and flaws. Because once it's on national television, it's like, oh, I'm kind of free now. Like I don't have to hide because everybody knows who I am, what I'm about, and I could just be me. And having like those insecurities and those anxieties, and having permission to in the real world, not hide them. It gave me confidence that I don't think I quite had before that. So, yeah, nothing but really great came out of it, and almost $1 million.
Oh my, you're right there. As was Rick. Did you happen to see that a similar change in Rick from when you start to day 1 to day 39? Did he feel like a remarkable? I think in his final words that he says at tribal council that he felt like he had changed. What was that change that you had witnessed?
It's funny, and I know I believe him that he says he changed. But to be honest, he seemed kind of the same to me from day that he was on day 1, just this kind of gregarious, really fun to be around guy. And again, I'm sure he got something internal that if he were here right now, he could weigh in on. But I know I didn't notice a huge change in him. So I don't mean to. I'm not calling him a liar. I just didn't notice.
People are calling him a liar on the island. Probably you would assume that people are calling him there. Not
Yeah.
you know.
I just wonder, like, how I hope we're allowed to talk about this, but like how much pre-gaming went on before 50, because obviously that's kind of how you win an all-attorney season. And I guess if there's too much, it just becomes irrelevant, because you got like all these side deals with 22 whatever other people. But yeah, I'm so excited for the season premiere, which, if my math is correct, and it usually is not, Final Tribal is what, July 1st?
Oh, is that right? Oh,
I
we're
believe so.
close.
I wrote it on my calendar when I heard Jeff say the game started today. I'm like, oh, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 26, July 1st, I think.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm probably
Okay.
wrong though.
Yeah, I wasn't sure of. I want to know so bad, David. I want to know what's happening so bad, and I can't know. None of us know, but I want to.
I want to know too. Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
know.
What are they throwing at him? At them?
What do you think in terms of your pregame? You never had the opportunity to pregame because did you know of Kelly pre-landing in Fiji, or were you guys blind when you got there?
I thought okay. This is. I'm sorry. I'm going to go into the weeds here. First, before I played my first time, I poured so much energy into like trying to figure out what the theme was going to be, and I actually figured it out well before the game started. I was like really proud of myself when I even said to Jeff beforehand, I think the theme is Millennials versus Gen X, and then when he said it on the island, I'm like, oh, that's right. That's so cool. And I tried to figure out the theme for 38, and I thought I had figured it out. And because I thought I had figured it out, I actually expected Kelly to be there. And when she was, I'm like, oh, I was right, but I wasn't right. I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be any returnee was going to be somebody who got voted out last. Sort of like the fourth place people. And so yeah, I thought it was going to be Kelly, and God, now I'm blanking on the other guy's name. But anyway, obviously I was wrong. Didn't matter. But I did expect Kelly to be there, but just for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. So, but there was no conversation with Kelly up until leaving there. So you had an idea she'd be there, but there was no like actual thick of the pregame.
Right. And what's funny though is because I did expect her to be there. I did like a deep dive on Kelly Wentworth, and it kind of affected our game a little bit, because I'm like, oh, I don't think she likes me. Which this is not breaking news. I told her this on the edge. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think you liked me, and she's like, why? I said that nice thing about you on Rob Has a Podcast. I'm like, yeah, but anyway, it was a whole thing. But and that's not why I targeted her. I just felt like she wasn't going to work with me. And by the way, now I'm really getting into the weeds. Who cares? Monday morning quarterbacking a game from 8 years ago. Anyhow, but yeah, no pre-gaming with Kelly is the main point.
This is, David, one of my top 5 favorite seasons of the show ever. I love this season.
Edge of Extinction.
So I love it. I said it. That was my Dalton Ross shout out if you're listening. You probably not. My hot take for him, I think, was that it's criminally underrated. Everything about it is so good. The whole season.
That is an incredibly hot take. That's a boiling hot take.
It's a boiling hot take, but I love one of my favorite Survivor moments ever. And now, if you thought we were in the weeds before, oh my God, buckle up. Is Reem gets voted out, walks down the path, and then she has this decision. She reads the plaque, and it says, like, you can be done. We're happy to let you be done, or you can go and continue your adventure. And there's the torch there, and she takes a second, like there's a beat, and then she just says, all right, and then takes the torch, and then the episode cuts when she, vanishes off into the distance. That's like such good storytelling. You know what I mean? That's really like, it's like how you get involved, and then you have Keith, who's right after her, who has this, very long decision of whether Keith wants to go or not. I just think the idea of like, how bad do you want it is not in Survivor as in your face as it is when you do have the Edge of Extinction in play. And then it pays out when you get to see Rick Devens, who was fun for 4 episodes. And without the Edge of Extinction, the game is obviously much different, but that we're not talking about Rick right now. Rick might be my guest on this podcast, if not for the Edge of Extinction.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, that's really true. Yeah, okay. You know what? I like that defense of liking that season. And you're right. How bad do you want it was definitely in your face that season. And it's like these days we don't. I feel like we don't have those challenges anymore where you have to like keep your hand on something or that really like. Remember there was that one pole, and was it in Thailand or wherever, where they were like for hanging onto a pole for like 12 hours or something, like the sun went down. But
in Palau, yeah, Tom and Ian were on
Yeah.
there for 11 hours.
Yeah, and didn't he just quit? He's like, you know what, it's yours. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, Tom wore him down. I think Ian was so unrelenting for 10 and a half hours. And then that last half hour, he's like, I think I'm all right.
Oh my
I'll hop off
God.
here.
Oh.
But that's, yeah, I mean, with the 26 days, which I play the same amount of time on both seasons, but on both variations of the show, but you do miss that. And then I think like when it's at the expense of really good storytelling, the 26 days, I think that's when it feels worse to me. Like the actual format of the game, I've always said, another hot take is if they never told you the days to begin with, you never would notice. Like as a viewer.
100% I agree. Although I guess we haven't ever had a day or since the game has been 26 days, we've never had a loved ones visit, right?
No, and that does suck. And that's the expense
Yeah.
of storytelling also, is that you're
Yeah.
missing such a great moment.
And and maybe they'll bring it back, but it is a little weird. It's like, Dad, I saw you 2 weeks ago.
You dropped me off at the airport.
Yeah,
you're wearing the same shirt.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
interesting. How is that with your dad? Does your dad still revel in that experience with you guys?
No. It's funny. Like when I told my my dad and my stepmom that I was going to play Survivor, they could not have been less excited or interested, really. And honestly, I think they just didn't get it. Like, why are you doing it? You're doing what? What? So I think they just thought it was kind of a weird thing to do. But yeah, I mean, my dad had fun in Fiji for like 3 or 4 days, whatever it was for him, hanging out with everyone else's parent and brother. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't, he doesn't regret it, but no, it's not really anything that he talks about ever.
It's a fun trip to Fiji. I guess it's just a vacation. It's a private vacation.
Probably his lack of interest is what would even drive someone like me to do a reality TV show. Cause obviously I'm like searching for love from somewhere. I got to get it from somewhere.
I've always wanted to do like the deep dive on the loved ones visit for the like these are now 8 strangers who are like kind of have something in common, that they have to travel together, they're in the same resort, and you have to, I mean, people that go on Survivor sometimes are unpleasant. Like you have to imagine there are unpleasant loved ones that like there's a whole second game that's happening, throw a camera crew there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously we don't do the loved one, so there's no one to point at. But yeah, I mean, in fact, my first time specifically, they were all told, the loved ones, not to discuss or give up who your player was, the name and stuff. So, but the thing is, everybody did except my dad. It's like, well, Dad, once everybody but you gives it up, there's you might as well. But no, he wouldn't. He would not say. So they were convinced that that I was in the CIA, and and because it was like my dad was like so secretive about who I was.
He's keeping it close to the vest sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like the Kenny Rogers song. You got to know when to hold him. He's keeping it federal.
Totally, and it's crazy because he's really not such a rule follower, but maybe he thought that if he broke the rules, he'd be sabotaging my chances, but obviously it didn't matter.
Can I ask you about now you play with Aubry also, tangentially, you guys spend time on the edge of extinction together. What is your Aubry take going into season 50?
I am very curious actually to see how she does, because when I saw her get off the boat about 20 minutes before our marooning, I was like, oh, wow. Because I think at that time she had played again within like a year maybe, and not my business or whatever, but I thought, oh man, I wonder if it's like too soon for her, because that was her, I think third time, right? Because this is her 4th time, correct?
Yes, she was 32, 34, and 38. So this was like within 2 years, she's playing 3 times.
Okay, yeah. And I think I just felt like, oh, that's too much, in a small amount of time. Although when you say years, it's like, oh, is it really that bad? But it does take a while to get over the experience. And she seemed like a little, she seemed like she was still like living in the Survivor space in a way that was detrimental to her game. And I think now that enough time has passed since 38, and I think she's given birth, I think she might be propped up to do much, much better than she did in 38.
Yeah, I'm shocked that she wanted to go. Like I've never met her or interfaced with her in any way, but she was never somebody that I considered to be on my radar for wanting to go again, especially after the last time, which did not look fun for her.
she keeps it close to the vest. Like as I said, I mean, I guess I did too. But like she got off that boat, I'm like, what? You're here?
Yeah,
Why didn't
that's
we
an
talk?
experience that the new era folks, I don't think will ever have that because everybody is so connected. But you may have been the last time that you show up at one of these seasons and you don't know. You know what I mean? Like even in the full All-Star seasons, like I guess Winners at War, everybody has an idea. It's only 40 people who could be there potentially. But you were the first or maybe the last person. She's like, Aubry from the other day when we were hanging out. You know,
Yeah.
it's an interesting experience.
Yeah. Oh man, it was so frustrating. It's funny like talking about Edge right now. Like it feels like yesterday, but we shot it in 2018, which is just crazy to me how much time has passed. But yeah, Aubry, man, yeah, it was nuts. It was bonkers. I wish we had been on the same tribe. I think we would have done a lot better.
Yeah, I think you guys would have made sense, and then having Kelly and Joe in the other tribe would have also made sense. Just because of like, I don't know what that theme is, but do you miss themes? Do you wish we had themes again?
100%, I miss themes. It's
Yeah.
funny. Jeff came to my friend's dinner party. This was, I think, right after I'd done Edge, but before it had aired, and he actually put it to the table. There's like I don't know 8 of us. He's like, "Do you guys like themes? Because we're thinking about not doing themes." I'm like, "No, no, no, keep the themes. Themes are great." And he didn't take that advice clearly. And I don't know that we've seen the last of themes. I think like I actually thought 50 was going to be a second chance season, and obviously it wasn't. But I do think we will see a second chance season again. So that's a theme. But yeah, I miss themes. You miss themes, right?
I miss themes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be funny when they do Jeff always does in these All-Star seasons, like, oh, we ran this challenge in, Palau, and then in Here's There's Villains, and 41 and 45. Like it just doesn't sound as like, I'll take the heroes, healers, whatever that was. Do that
I
again,
I 100% agree because it's even like quote unquote maybe crappy theme like that is still fun. Like I love when Jeff swings even on a bad theme or whatever because it's just I don't know it adds to the fabric that is Survivor and it's just fun to like talk about and watch and I think it was Zeke. My favorite theme is Second Chance, and I was talking with Zeke this back when it was airing Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, and it's like nobody really kind of as Zeke said, nobody really identifies as like, oh, I'm a healer, I'm a hustler. You don't really have that, but everybody can relate to a second chance. So I think like the more relatable you can make the themes, the better. And I think they were just kind of having trouble coming up with themes that made sense, that were relatable, and that fit whatever cast they had. Because they had the cast first, and then they figure out the theme. Except, of
Yeah,
course, for Second Chance.
I was always surprised they didn't just stick with like Brains Beauty Brawn makes sense for Survivor, like it makes sense for whatever, and it doesn't necessarily change the naming conventions of the show, but just do that every time. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah,
works every time.
it
They did it
does.
twice.
And it gives you a lens, a point of view to approach things that happen in the game and conversations at Tribal. I know Reddit, or whatever, would get really annoyed, like, oh, like for Millennials, Gen X, is like, oh, really? You're talking about how people text? I'm like, but no, it's kind of fun. Whatever. Let's have the debate. Let's have the discussion.
Yeah, there was a tribal council on Millennials versus Gen X about like Jeff randomly brought up if you guys have vinyl records. Is that right? What was that conversation?
Yeah, he did. He did. That's right. I forgot that even made the air, but I do remember that conversation. And what's funny is, I think that was like, oh yeah, the older generation has records, but now it's very common for the new generation, younger generation, to have vinyl. Like it's kind of the
Yeah.
hip thing to do. So it's
You
funny
can't see
how.
it because of my nameplate, but they're all right there. You know what I mean? I'm
Oh,
looking at them.
what's your favorite vinyl over there?
I listen. My favorite album of all time, David Wright, is Michelle Branch's "The Spirit Room." You know Michelle
I
Branch.
know
You were
Michelle
around in
Branch.
2001.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I can't name a single song, unfortunately, but I do know her.
y- oh my God! Listen, my music taste is if you found like an iPod 2002, dusty, it's pink. That's what I'm listening to in my rotation. It's a lot of No Doubt. It's a lot of Michelle Branch. But I wouldn't have it any other way. You know what I mean?
I love it. I love it. And is that your primary? What you listen to is vinyl records? Your primary? Yeah,
Oh no,
format.
I've never listened to it, David Ray. I bought it more for the collection of it all. I think it's still in the cellophane. It's autograph. I don't want to brag. It's autograph. But I
Yeah.
do. We're not listening to them. We all buy them. Us young kids, we're buying them. We never plug them in. We never put them on the actual thing. We're listening on Spotify. We just like to, there's something really fun about the holding of the vinyl record.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, I when I was growing up, they had they were on their way out. It was audio cassettes and then eventually CDs. But yeah, I still would buy the vinyls, and yeah, you're right. I love holding it and like opening it up, the gatefold, and then the lyrics or whatever the photos is the best.
You're a big classic rock guy.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I don't know if I'm breaking any copyright rules, but I'm sitting on a Stones blanket right now.
We'll blur that. That's fine. We'll take that out in post. But that's, yeah, I don't know why I remember that, but I remember you being a big classic rock guy. What would have been if you're on the edge, you're hungry, you're exhausted, what's the album that gets you through on the edge?
Let It Bleed by the Stones.
Let It Bleed.
Yeah. Which is it's appropriate for Survivor.
Was there a lot of bleeding on the edge? Were people bleeding?
Oh God, yeah, I bled a bunch. Yeah, it was awful. And I had I was eating a lot of crabs, but I was so hungry I was eating the shells too, and it was awful.
Rick Devens is the person, I think you had alluded to this, who you want on the edge because he's a fun presence. But your whole time on the edge, Rick isn't there. Who's the funny presence for you on the edge? And it could be you. You could be the funny presence for you on the edge.
I know. I don't think it was me. I mean, honestly, it's Reem. Reem is so uniquely funny without trying to be. I feel really bad. She was just in town like a week ago with her daughter, seeing her daughter's playing at the daughter's band play at the Whiskey and at Hotel California or Hotel Cafe. And I didn't get a chance to go, and I feel really bad. I said I would, and then I couldn't. But anyway, Reem was hysterical on the edge. It just like, just like her honest attitude.
You did that well.
Yeah, well, she will tell you what you never have to guess what Reem is thinking. She'll tell you, and that's so endearing and what I love about her. She was easily the funniest, and she would give voice to things we were maybe only thinking, but we're afraid to say.
Anybody from the past couple seasons there, or, the whole history of the show that is not there that you wish was there?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see, actually, I would love to see Cochran play again. He's only done it twice. And I asked him, when I met him well before I was ever playing Survivor, I ran into him at a I forget what the pizza ref where you could build your own pizzas. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, would you ever play again? And he's like, well, what would be the point? I could only do the same or worse, and probably worse, right? So yeah, but I would love to see Cochran play again. What about you?
Pull up. I really. You look at this group, and I love the newer era folks. They're like everybody from the new era is like people that you went to high school with, is what the analogy that I use. It's just like it feels very familial. But they're all, and Rob has said this, like they can play in 2 years. I would have rather let the chapter close with folks where this would be the last time that you're going to get them most likely. Like, is Jonathan Penner coming to play Survivor in 5 years? Likely no. I don't know what space Sean Rector is in. Maybe he can play in 5 years, but wouldn't it be nice to have him now? I think I would have preferred a little bit more of the old guard as opposed to who we have. And this isn't, it's fine, but it's not the season 50 that I would have drawn up myself. Really, the season 50 that I'm drawing up myself are the guests from this podcast. Everybody I'm having as a guest. Throw you guys back out there.
Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I would say these people are easy to throw under the bus because we don't know who they are. But season 49, those 2 slots, put whatever 2 icons you want to put in there. Okay, and of course, we don't know who said yes or no or any of that stuff, but. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus other than those people I don't know. But sure. I do agree that it doesn't quite look like what you would imagine a season 50 would look like. But at the same time, there's so many people now, and I don't. It's hard to say what a 50 should look like exactly.
You had mentioned running into Cochran. Have you run into any of these folks out at Survivor events? Anybody that you had a nice interaction with that are playing season 50 that are not Aubry or Rick Devens?
Yeah, I remember very vividly because it was right before the world ended. I met Christian Hubicki at the Survivor 40 premiere in February of 2020. I think all my dates are right there. and yeah, he was very nice. I had a great conversation with him, and he's so like perfectly suited for this game. I think he also has a really good chance. Let's see, who else did I meet? Um, I've only like texted with Coach like on Instagram or DMs or whatever like years ago. Nothing really, nothing to write about.
How is Coach via text? Is Coach a fun texter?
Well, he's kind of funny because yeah, this is a little closer to like my when my Survivor fandom was at its peak, and I'm like, oh my God, Coach, this is so cool! Like, you know, you're one of my favorites or whatever. He's like, and it just I forget what he said exactly, but it was something like, yeah, it's pretty cool talking to me, isn't it? It was like that kind of vibe. I'm like, oh, that is so Coach. That's perfect.
I do wonder how that'll translate on the show, because I do think he does that out loud also. I wonder how the newer era folks are going to react to, you know, my dear friend Emily Flippin. I'm seated for the Emily and Coach interaction. I think that'll be magical.
Totally. No, you're right. Like, yeah, Coach feels like not only of a different era of Survivor, but just like because of just how unique he is, he's just going to feel like an alien in this game, I think. And he might be up for a rude awakening, or who knows, maybe he actually makes it to the end. I mean, that would be incredible. I'm still like not even sure what happened with that story where he was, you know, getting hunted or whatever, like the most dangerous game or something.
Yeah. Right before smartphones that happens. You know, I would have
Yeah,
loved to have seen footage, you know? It's like Bigfoot.
totally.
It's like I don't know definitively if it happened, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I
Um
assume it didn't, but he did pass a lie
one
detector
would assume.
test.
My one of my favorite Survivor confessionals of all time is you talking about your fear of death that ultimately, you know, turns into a fear of life. I want to check in 8 years later on the fear of death. Where are we on death at this point?
I mean, I still think about it every day, which you know, I don't know if there's a pill I can take for that, but yeah, but I am living my life far more than I was before I played Survivor. So the win is still there in terms of like the growth, but yeah, I think about death every day. Like sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh my God, we're all gonna die at some point, and yeah, I don't know, I just can't shake it. I've met other people like that, so I don't think it's like so uncommon. But what do you think about it?
I don't think about it.
Ah,
And it's so
never.
funny when I thought about when I did think about it and was thinking about it, it was when I was watching you. And I like that
Well,
really aligned with me. Not that I wanted to die while watching you. Which I do hear how that sounds
yeah.
now.
Oh yeah. When
It's
I
my
saw
first
you, I
time with
just.
these,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
I wanted to
No.
die.
Oh man, I'm very envious of you being able to like not think about it. I think I would say that's the worst thing about being human is the knowledge that it's going to end. Like you know, when I had a dog and I look at my cats, I'm like, oh my God, it's so great. They have no idea what's coming. They're just blissfully ignorant. And but yeah, I just think about it every day. It's hard not to. I don't know. Since I was a kid, by the way, like since I was no joke, like 2 or 3 years old, I've thought about it every day.
And has it gotten better or has it just changed over that time?
I mean, in a way, it's gotten worse because I'm getting closer to it. It reminds me of there's my favorite children's book is it's called "There's a Monster at the End of This Book," and it's Grover, and every page he's like, "Please don't turn the page. There's a monster at the end of this book," and you just turn the page, you're getting closer and closer and closer, and that's the you know the death at the end of the book. I'm closer to it than I was when I played Survivor. It's like you know, uh, it reminds me of that Mitch Hedberg is that his last name? That joke he's got
Yes.
about yeah, this is a photo of when I was younger, dude. Every photo is a photo of you when you were younger. Yeah, but yeah. So anyway, I think about death all the time, and I'm sorry to now
No,
drag your listeners
that's
into
why I
this.
asked. I'm so interested. Yeah, and Survivor is a lot like a death. Like getting voted out is death, and I feel like you had really good deaths both
That's
times.
dude. That's why I like was drawn, and I'm positive that's why I was drawn to the game of Survivor because it is. And I think I even said this maybe in a Ponderosa or something, but it is a way to cheat death. Like you know, you can not really, but yeah, you can cheat game death, and it's like oh, take that death, I'm gonna win. You didn't think I could, but yeah, and obviously, eventually, I did die in it. So yeah, I'm gonna die 3 times, I guess.
Wow. Maybe another time. No, Survivor time.
Yeah, we'll see.
You have a really good when you leave the first time. And I think you do as well in the Edge of Extinction. But when you leave the first time, you have a very nice like parting words to everybody. Like you address the group. And now the new era kids, David Wright, me included, everybody's addressing the group. Everybody addresses the group. Do you like when the group is addressed? You were a pioneer in addressing the group.
I'm not sure I was a pioneer, but yeah, I like, I think my season the first time, Millennials vs. Gen X, I think was perhaps a reaction to kind of like Worlds Apart and Co Wrong, where we saw some people who weren't so super like friendly, on the island and maybe off, who knows. But I felt really lucky with the cast we got, because I think we were intentionally cast as more likable, maybe less toxic people than had appeared in recent seasons at that point. And so, yeah, if people are having, if that's the era we're in still, and maybe even better that in that department, obviously there are people we can point to like, oh, that person should not be on. But yeah, maybe like it makes sense. Like, these are really likable people, and you feel compelled to say thank you. And address them. It's like, it's wonderful. And that's how I felt. I felt so lucky to get the people that I got.
You got a good group. It's a very, very fun group of folks. And even the second time, it's a good situation. But our good buddy Rick Devens, how do you think? What's the final? Is the final verdict winner for Rick Devens? How do we think the story ends for Rick Devens?
Obviously, it's hard to say because we have no idea what his resume is going to look like. But I do think of the people that you had up there, he's in my top 5 in terms of likely to win. Obviously knowing nothing about what happens in the game, but I think if he can, hopefully he doesn't end up on a tribe like Manu, where we lost every challenge for like, I don't know, 6 weeks straight or whatever it was. Hopefully he's on a better, stronger tribe than that. But yeah, I think Rick Devens, solid chance at winning if he can get to the end, which I think he can.
He didn't previously. Pretty close. It's almost the end. That fire challenge. Hopefully he's been practicing.
Oh my God! I first of all, this isn't me bragging, but I can start a fire in like under 15 seconds, and with a flint, obviously not with a bamboo saw.
We can brag about that. That's impressive.
But I just think, like, I hope everybody out there can do that, because it's very easy to do once you know it. It's easy to do. But yeah, come on, man, Rick, you better have learned. You better have improved your fire making skills.
Well, we'll see. David Wright, thank you so much for joining us. Anywhere to follow you? Anywhere you want to direct people?
Sure, yeah. Instagram is my main source of social media, and that's I always say this when I'm on here, I feel like, but my handle is Real Dave Wright, and I hate that handle. I did it before I was ever on TV, and now it just feels like, oh, I was on TV. I'm like, I'm the real Dave Wright, but I'm not. There are many Dave Wrights, including a former Mets third baseman. But yeah, Real Dave Wright on Instagram is where you can find me. Wait, you're not letting me go. We haven't talked about Love Island season 7 yet.
Do you know, David, that the prior Survivor Ponderosa is that property? Like, I slept on that property when I got voted out, as did many seasons.
Okay, I'm so glad actually we're talking about this, because I saw somewhere on Reddit or online, it said that island was Mana. I'm like, that's not Mana. I can tell that's not Mana. So was it Bacana? Is it Bacana? Do you know?
No, it's on the main island. Like it's
on the main island. Okay.
And I hate to, unveil this. It's so close to the airport, David Wright. It's like 30 minutes from the airport. It really is close. And that's where, for folks listening, you start the game in the pregame, and then that resort becomes the Ponderosa. It no longer is the Ponderosa because Love Island bought it, I guess, and renovated it. But the dock that you see, all of them, I don't know their names. Charlie, there's a Charlie. I saw people tweeting about a Charlie. The dock that Charlie's on, I'm not watching it all. I watched the first episode, and it was fun because I paused it on a wide shot of the house, and I like got up. I looked like that Charlie Day meme from Always Sunny, where I'm like pointing at stuff, on the board, and I'm like, this was the dock that Hannah Rose and I would stand on, So see, the property is the same.
I think you and I,
and so is the pool.
I think you and I had different Ponderosa Islands or properties, call it.
Yes. I think that this one was a new era change. I think if I'm correct, I believe 43 through 46 were at the one that I was in.
Okay.
And then they moved for 47 and 48 because Love Island took over.
Yeah, it was Bacana when I was there. So that was probably right before the 43.
Are you watching Love Island?
Yeah,
US season 7?
I am. I
Tell
find
me
it
your
fascinating.
takes.
Well, I mean, Jeremiah, the whole. By the way, I'm a couple episodes behind because my fiance is actually out of town for her bachelorette party. So I watched
Oh,
with her.
beautiful.
So yeah. Although actually, I think she was watching, so I should catch up. Anyhow, but yeah, I love Jeremiah. Huda, if she's still in, again, I'm a couple episodes behind. If she's still there, oh god, it is so cringy to watch. But you don't know who that is, I guess. But yeah, it is painful. I hope she's not there because it's torturous because like she got split up and she has nobody now, or as of 2 episodes ago, she didn't. Anyhow, yeah, I
She,
find it so
I see
fascinating.
her name on Twitter a lot. Twitter is
Oh
really big on Huda.
yeah, no, I mean like you talk about Rick Devens getting a lot of screen time. In Love Island season 7, I'm not sure anybody's got more screen time than Huda. I'm sure the other cast, of course, they don't realize it, but I'm sure when they get back, they'll be like, "Come on, man."
I had so many good confessionals they didn't put on because it's so much
Exactly.
Huda. Yeah,
Yeah, it's so funny.
that
No,
is
it's a
so
great show.
funny. Yeah, people love it. Listen. The reality, we're back. Reality TV was passe for a little bit, but competition reality shows, we're full force.
Yeah, and Traders is great because it has so much fun with the campiness of it and like pulling people from very, very different reality TV shows, some games, some not. And I love it. Now Coming is amazing. Yeah, I mean it's obviously I've said it's weighted heavily for the traders, but it's still fun.
Have you thought about, people do this on TikTok? Well, they'll start a group chat with all of the people with their same name. There's only one other Brandon Donlon in the world, and we interface occasionally. But you've got a lot of David Wrights. You could make a very large David Wright group chat if you wanted to.
I can only think of two, to be honest. Me and the Mets third baseman. Who
Have you
else?
interacted with that guy?
No, but I sometimes get people following me thinking, or I used to thinking that I was him. I'm like, oh. I played one season of Little League, and I don't even know what the position's called. Whatever that position behind first base is, that's where I was, where the ball
Sure.
usually doesn't go, and I would panic when it did because it was someone who was left-handed. But
You're
yeah,
left-handed?
no, but like if you're left-handed, you're more likely to hit a ball where I was, and obviously, so it's kind of rare
Wow.
or less common. But yeah, and actually, I think there's a photographer or an artist that did a Yes album cover named David Wright, but I can't think of any other David Wrights other than me and those two.
I mean, there's probably like guys in Nebraska. Like you got some accountants. Like I'm sure you have a good
Oh,
network of jobs. You know what I mean? Like just across the country, you throw in a bunch of David Wrights.
oh,
That
okay,
we can make that
sure.
into something. You
Yeah,
know?
that we could do. Yeah, I thought you meant like David Wrights that were in entertainment or been in on TV or whatever. No, okay, yes, yeah, it's a pretty common name. That's kind of why I hate my name. Everything about me is so like ordinary and common and not interesting. Like David Wright. Wow. You know.
Boy, you are the real Dave Wright, which is
I
pretty
am well,
good. You know,
exactly. That's the most important thing about me.
we could pitch that, and you obviously you have a fiance, so it won't be you. But we could pitch a dating show where you have to date. You have to lock in on a David Wright, and we're only casting people named David Wright. We call it the right stuff with the
Oh,
W, the right
wait.
stuff,
Are
right?
we doing this? No, we can't do this. I'm getting married, and I'm getting
You
married.
host it.
Yeah.
You and you,
Okay, I'll
you
host
and
it.
your
That's good.
fiance hosted. I think that's pretty good. I think we
I
have a case here.
I like this. This is good. Yes. Okay. Grab your cameras. Cancel Christmas.
I got a pen. Listen, David Wright, thank you so much for joining me. We're talking Rick Devens. We've got more Rick Devens coming up. But thank you everybody for listening, and stick around because there'll be more.
Thanks for
See you
having me.
soon. We are back. The Survivor 50 Files, the Rick Devens episode. We're not ending with David Wright. You know, we love David Wright, but we've got more guests for Rick Devens, and we're here with somebody that I love, somebody that I see, somebody. I'm not going to reveal where we live, although I think I've done it many times in this podcast. Somebody who lives very close to me.
Yeah.
It's Victoria Baamonde. Victoria, how are you?
I'm good. I'm hot. It's 100 degrees, but we're chilling anyway.
We're filming this on Tuesday. This will come out on Friday. We may all be gone by Friday because it's that hot. We may all melt away.
This is my final will and testament.
What would you like to say to everybody listening if this is it?
Somebody take care of Gibby for me. Somebody tell my mom I love her.
Sure.
And somebody take my place as. Never mind.
What was that? You
It was
can
a
continue
secret.
that.
It was a secret. No, it was a secret.
Secret.
I almost blew it. Nope.
You know, it's not a secret. is the Survivor 50 cast is in Fiji right now. And people for months were like, "Where's Victoria? Victoria's not on this." You know what happened?
Nothing. I didn't even get a phone call, buddy. Everyone's like, "But were you close?" I was like, "Not even a little."
Which you really, and I just talked to Kellen the other day. You really got the short end of the stick with the 40 being the winners, and then you missed the. And again, I'm telling you something that you know already. But it really does suck for those couple seasons. You're 35 to 39, I guess. Yeah. But the 35 to 38 who missed out on getting to go one more time because you would have been there for one more time.
I would like to think that my only chance still is second chance this season with audience vote. I think that is my only chance of going back because it's been dead silent from Jeffy Pooh.
Were you dead silent after 38? Were you in it for 40 when 40 was supposed to be something else?
No, never heard anything from anyone.
Sure. Yeah. But not too late. People go so many years without getting anything, and then they pop up, and then they win.
It's true. You know what? I don't even care. I care so much.
We all do. We all say we don't care. I care. We all care.
I mean, honestly, I really would like to be on the Traders because that's a bad place to say that. Traders, producers, I would love to be on it.
Yeah. So. What do you want to be, trader or faithful in the Traders?
Oh, come on. You tell me.
Everybody wants to be a trader. I think I'd be a better faithful. I wouldn't be a good trader.
You would be a better faithful. I would be a very good trader.
Sure.
Nobody ever knows when I'm lying. Nobody ever knows.
They have these like live games that people put together in New York where they like play the traders. We should just like pay somebody to, and we all play the traders. Let's all like let's like bite the traders bug, you know, or let the traders bug bite us.
Do that. I would like to do that.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, let's make that happen.
We have a nice New York contingent. Everybody in New York is fun, and we all get along great. I think that'd be great.
I have ideas.
Victoria, tell me about Rick Devens.
Rick Devens. He's a funny guy. You know, I did not have the pleasure of meeting him until about not quite halfway through the game. What day did he come back on? Day 15, something like that. But no, he's a riot. You don't see it at all in the editing or what was aired of the season. But me and him were actually, you know, pretty close on the island. We had a very similar sense of humor, even though we didn't get the chance really to strategically work together. We would talk shit all the time. We hated the same people. We liked the same people. We had a very good moment of when he just skedaddles into the forest one day after a challenge and nobody wanted to run after him. And I was like, what the fuck, guys? It's Rick Devens. He clearly has something. So I skedaddled after him. I'll run so fast. The cameraman literally said to me, he's like, can you slow down? I was like, no, I'm busy. And then we made it to everyone who's been in Fiji, what I call Secret Beach, where you walk up the like steps on that mountain and you go on the other side and there's like a little beach. Anyway, that's where he was practicing fire making. And I was like, this is a decoy. This man is doing something else. But he wasn't. So we sat down and we swapped fire making tips and we chatted for probably what was at least an hour. I don't know. Nobody gave me a watch. And eventually it was getting late and I was like, I'm going to go back to camp to get some rice because I'm hungry. And so I said bye. And then I went back over the hill and hid behind a tree for at least 30 more minutes, thinking this man is now going to do his actual plan of finding something, which is what he was definitely doing. And no, I just kept hearing the flint and the machete whacking. Yeah.
You find something during that cycle? Like, did he already have something or he just wasn't looking that day?
He probably already had something, honestly. He wasn't looking in that moment. That's for sure.
Now, do you think your fire making tips hurt Rick Devens?
No, they helped. He was not good at it. Rick, love you. You were not good at fire making.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how much you practiced that pre-going to this.
I hope a lot, considering.
Hope. You'd have to hope. What was your pre-game vibe of Rick like? I talked to both Kelly and David on this podcast, and they were only with each other. They were, on a different thing. So I haven't talked to anybody who got to experience the pre-game Rick Devens. How was that for you?
I mean, pre-game, obviously we don't get to talk to each other. So I didn't have a big opinion of him until the morning of, what do you even call it? Launch, castaway, whenever they're sending us out in our little game outfits. So it's like whatever, 4:00 in the morning, it's dark out. We're all in our actual outfits that we're going to wear. And he is wearing a full suit and I am wearing a cotton hoodie and joggers. And, you know, you're not supposed to speak, but I look at him and I catch his eye and I just mouth like, that sucks. And so like he just starts laughing and I was laughing. And so my impression of that was he's a funny guy. I mean, he gets my sense of humor. Like I was able to say that sucks and make him laugh. But yeah, the suit, wasn't sure what it was going to be about. Wasn't sure what his occupation was going to be. News anchor wasn't where I was going with that.
What would you have guessed? If somebody made you guess, would you have guessed something else?
I mean, I guess just a suit in general, I would just guess businessman doing business things. Although that does not suit him at all. So
Sure.
yeah,
Not a lot of suits in the new era of Survivor. Nobody's in a suit. I think he may have been the last suit.
Yeah, I mean, the new era of Survivor has a lot of things the old era of Survivor doesn't have.
Sure, and I've heard all about it on these things. What is the thing that you miss the most watching?
Villains.
Not even
Villains.
Yeah. No, I raised Rome. Was Rome not villainy enough? What did Rome have to do better to be considered like? Because I think of Rome as like the new era Survivor villain.
I couldn't tell you anything about that man.
Yeah. And maybe that's the problem.
Maybe that's the problem.
Sure.
Here's my problem in a nutshell. I think that they are casting the same person in different fonts now.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be any type of person. This isn't about like the type of person they are, although we are skewing more towards nerd, I'd say.
Sure.
Which is fine, nerd. But any one type of person on Survivor is going to be boring, in my opinion, especially if they're all intelligent in some way, because they're not going to want to hurt each other's feelings. They're not going to want to like talk shit. They're not going to want to backstab as much, and they're all going to get along. You know, my favorite thing to say is that, like, I don't remember who brought it up, but somebody was brought up like playing Pokemon Go. And I've played Pokemon Go before. This is no hate towards this person. I would get a beer.
Brando. Shout out to Brando.
Brando.
That is, yeah.
I would get a beer with pretty much everyone on these casts. But if you bring up on Survivor that you love Pokemon Go, I'm sorry, you should be bullied. And not half of the cast should agree with you that they love Pokemon Go. That's just boring TV. And I just want to make it so clear that I think these are all good people. Not all of them. Not everyone's great, right? But like in general, they're casting very good people. They're so nice. They're so friendly. Terrible reality television. You
want people who are angry. Now, did you find on your... I want to make an addendum. I don't want Brando to be bullied. Nobody bully Brando or I'll take care of it.
Like, I don't know how to make these two. I guess to me, like, it's such a game, right? Like, and I'm able to see it as such a game.
Sure.
That, like, this is probably wrong, but it's like, you're not bullying Brando. You're bullying the idea of him. And it's like,
it's very perks of being a wallflower. It's very, like, abstract, which I like.
I'm so sorry, Brando. No, you shouldn't be bullied. It's true. Yeah. But, like, on the game of Survivor, you should have, like, the preacher's daughter and, like, the farmer and, like, you know, the middle-aged mother all being like, the fuck is Pokemon Go?
Yeah. Tell me about your pre-swap tribe. We talked about Aubry the other day, and I watched a confessional of Aubry while you guys, Ron Clark is like leading a dance. You guys are all dancing.
Yes, we were all dancing.
Was that the vibe the whole time, or was there inner arguing amongst the 9 of you?
There was really no arguing, I'd say, that happened. I mean, there was definitely groups forming and strategies trying to be put in place. But as a whole, we were all, you know, kumbaya, because we hadn't lost, really, is what it was. There was no reason to start any problems because there was nothing, there was going to be no way to alleviate those problems. We hadn't lost. So when you haven't lost and you're being fed well and, you know, there's just, you're going to learn a silly dance, but then, you know, you're going to talk off to the side about who you want voted out secretly, but no No real drama. Nobody liked Aurora, which is funny to say now because she eventually became one of my greatest allies. But nobody liked Aurora.
Mm-hmm. I love that season, which I think I mentioned to you. I love that season so much.
Yeah.
I am interested in, the new era. There's always a tribe who's losing. I was on one. My buff's on my door right here.
I mean, we had a tribe that was losing too. Just
But
wasn't
that's
right.
what I mean. You guys had a disaster tribe also.
Yeah.
And in a 2-tribe situation, the disaster tribe still happens. They lost 3 immunities in a row.
Yeah. Sucks to
And
be them. I don't know what to say.
sucks to be them. And then on the swap, you end up voting out Aubry, who was also on season 50. What do you think Aubry should do to avoid that happening again?
I mean, what like a genuine answer would be to separate the game from reality. I think her biggest downfall with me was that we bonded over real things. There's no reason for me to bullshit about my personal life. And I didn't, we bonded about things like social anxiety. Like I'm an antidepressant girly. It's no secret. And we both bonded over like things like that, like tough things. And it was very prevalent in my life at that time. And she understood it. And so we talked about that as people. And that was all true. And then when it comes to $1 million, that means nothing to me. So I think she needs to learn that people can very much like you as a person and talk to you about their personal life. And that does not mean you're in an alliance.
Do you think that her playing, like she plays 3 times in I think like 3.5 years, like that third time, I think remarkably harder because she's so in it. Do you think with now, I think it was 6-7 years of distance since you guys played, 7 years maybe? How do you think that has evolved Aubry into, like, is that a mistake she makes again?
I would hope not. I think that the distance should definitely be able to like re-energize her and like have her like learn from her past mistakes. I think she was probably definitely burnt out by the time she played my season. And also, if you've played 3 seasons and you do worse and worse every time, like that's a big mind fuck, I'm sure. Like you come very close to winning and then you're like the 5th one out. Like that sucks. So I think at this point, with as much distance as she's had enough, this much time, I hope she comes into it with like a fire in her belly and, wanting to redeem herself and get back to her, her status as a strategic mastermind, as Jeff said, because we did not see that last time she played. And she definitely has that capability, clearly. But it wasn't there in season 38.
And Rick, too. What does Rick need to work on in terms of his game to now? I believe if he gets to the end of your game, he does win, I think.
Yes, he definitely wins.
Wins by quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I do know that he rubbed people in the jury the wrong way, that people were on the jury that would have voted for him regardless. What does he need to do to kind of tighten up to make sure that doesn't happen?
That's hard to say because I don't know that he necessarily rubs a lot of people the wrong way on the jury, unless you've heard that specifically. Maybe I'm just wrong, but I just think he had the cards stacked against him by being someone who came back into the game and was immediately a target because of that. And then once he started winning all of these challenges back to back and he always had an idol, he just became even more of a target. So that he was never able to shed that target status. He came back in with it. And then by becoming a challenge threat, it stayed. So the best thing he could do, honestly, in my opinion, is play like a little bit more under the radar if he can. Make more silent connections, like have a strong social game, which he did. He definitely had, alliances, but he had to be a threat, to be fair. Like he had to keep winning those challenges or he was gone. So if he can start this game not in that position, which everyone's starting pretty much equal playing field. If he can find himself to be a little bit more low key at the beginning, use other people as shields, keep that initial target off of him, and keep using his skills to find idols and hustle in the way that he hustles and use his personality to make friends, I think he has a much better chance of, making it to the end, which, he did. For fire, and then winning because he really is a likable guy. So I don't think he should have any problems with, the jury liking him or wanting to vote for him. He's got a great family at home. There's nothing about him that's going to make you not want to give him the money. He just has to be less of an obvious threat.
Yeah, I mean, he's on a season like with you, where he is a loud person in a sea of quieter people. And I think this is like the best thing for him, where you've seen the cast of Survivor 50. It's a lot of, most of them are loud. It's like it's the loudest group that they've ever put together of Survivor 50.
Right.
Do you have any perception of like what kind of person he wants to align with? Like who you can see him getting along with well?
I would love to think that him and Christian Hubicki would get along. I could see that. I could see that happening. I would have to really look at the cast.
Well, you're not going to believe this. I have it right here.
Oh, get out of here. Let's see. Who could I see him aligning with? I mean, I would see him not. This is hard to say because I know I'm more cynical than certain people, or at least more publicly cynical about the newer seasons. I've spoken to some of my former castmates who feel similarly about things as I do, but they won't post about it. So I don't know where his public persona is going to lie on this split, season 40 pre and post.
Yeah.
But I would just see him probably mostly aligning with people of similar personalities to him. So I could see him liking Mike. I could see him liking Christian. The new people,
I do think that if there's anybody who's, I wouldn't even say parlaying for the White Lotus spot, but I know Rick Devens would make a meal out of the White Lotus. Rick Devens and the White Lotus.
Biggest regret in life, which isn't even mine to have because this isn't anything I can control, is not being on fucking Mike White's season.
Yeah.
I want a spot. But no, I think he's going to find people like himself. Although, when I think about David Wright, is he like Rick? No.
That's a great question. I don't know if Christian is. I think Christian and Rick are more similar to Jonathan, than Jonathan, certainly. But I don't think that they're super.
No.
I think I said to David Wright that Rick represents a casting choice that I don't think has happened before Rick on Survivor. He's not a David, he's not an Aubry, he's not a Cochran Rick. He's silly in a way that isn't in Survivor.
That's what I'm trying to think. I'm who else is silly? And that's probably why I see Christian, because he's just so adorable that he would be down with the silly.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel obviously Mike White is a comedy writer, and other than he does more than comedy, but I could see them who could Rick gossip with? He's a gossip.
He likes to gossip.
Well, I like to gossip, and he gossips with me. So in my head, he too is a gossip.
Sure.
But he's also friendlier than I am. So I think that he could go kumbaya route if he had to. But I don't think he'd like it.
What would your strategy have been if you are on this season? You're season 38. You have half new era, half older era. You're jumping to older era, I think.
I honestly think I would play the line.
Well, you gotta play the line.
Yeah, I think I would, because I'm in a unique position to have met a lot of these people. So I could probably go both ways very quietly. Mm-hmm. I could see myself a lot with the women in the new era. Yeah. I think that a lot of them have been the strategists in the more recent seasons, and I respect that, and I could see myself working with them. And I could also see using my status as technically an old school player or old era player to pull in some of the people that I know from that side. I've spent some time with Ozzy, and Ozzy's the king of the jungle, and if you have him, you have more people, and I could see myself probably being in a position to work both sides quietly, sticking with the quiet thing.
You got to. You're a Survivor fan. You loved old Survivor, bigly. Are you excited for your Jenna Lewis's, your Colby's, that guard? Is that something that you're pumped to see?
Here's the thing. I have seen every single season of Survivor. I have never missed one. Actually, not true anymore. I did not finish the most recent season. I was so not interested. So that's
Which-
saying a lot. But anyway, back
Good
to
news, they're all on season 50. So you'll see them when you get there.
right. Literally. And completely unrelated to Survivor and just something about me, I have a terrible memory. Terrible. As a fun little anecdote, I watched the movie War Dogs, and that's funny because of my war dog.
Sure.
And then I watched it again, like maybe a year later, maybe. And I was like, oh, because I've never seen this movie. And about 3/4 into the movie, I was like, wait, I feel like this is about to happen. And then I realized I have seen that entire movie before. So I have a very, very bad memory. So I can't say that I'm like super excited about the old school players because
Sure.
I can't remember their game. I do remember Stephanie LaGrossa. So I would be excited to see how she does now. I know she was just on the Traders, but I didn't actually.
Yes, she
Yes.
did. I mean, the interesting thing there is that she was on the Traders with Suri and kind of gets bested by Suri. And then they had this show, Snake in the Grass, it was called, where they flew 4 people out. It's Rachel from Big Brother, Janelle from Big Brother, Suri, and Stephanie to play like a mole-like game. One of them had to sabotage.
They now have been together in a lot of capacities.
And Stephanie was the saboteur and very bad at it. And Suri caught on immediately. So Stephanie has been bested by Suri. Like
multiple times.
And in Heroes versus Villains. So this is now Stephanie's going to be shot out of a cannon, you would assume.
I am excited to see those dynamics. I'm excited to see like how the older school players handle the newer school players. I think more than anything, you're going to see a big difference in personality with a lot of them. And I wonder how that's going to translate to strategy. And I wonder how much of maybe an advantage that the newer players might have, because if they don't change the format, if this is just a new era formatted season, they may very well have an advantage, knowing the 26-day style, knowing the types of, advantages that can come up and how to play them, and just having experience with that. So I would say I'm like rooting for the old school players. I'm definitely interested to see how the dynamics play out, but I can't say I'm like, hell yeah, season 2. I just don't really remember it. I was 8 years old.
That's what I do. I do hell yeah, season 2. You would have had a lot of fun on the journey. Do you regret not being able to go on a journey?
No, I'm not really sentimental like that.
No, not like you want to go play like the dice game. That's not your scene.
No.
Yeah.
Oh wait, a journey. You're talking about? I thought you meant like the old school, like carrying in a torch, going on a journey. Like,
oh no,
I'm like, no, I
every day.
enjoyed that. I'm so glad that that doesn't happen anymore. Would I have had fun on a journey? That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I would have had fun playing the challenge and trying to win the advantage or whatever might come out of it. But I also think it's a bad idea to put yourself in that position. I also always avoided hero positions and challenges. I avoided anything that would like launch me into the spotlight, because I think that that's a risk that isn't always necessary. Like, it's the same thing as like looking for an idol and everyone knows you're looking for one. And if you weren't in danger before, now you sure are. So depending on where I was in the status of the game, I don't know that I'd ever choose to go on a journey or like advocate for myself to go on one, because I just don't know if it's a good enough choice. Because no matter what the outcome is, you're going to tell your story back at camp and people are going to choose not to believe you, right? Even if you're telling the truth, which I probably wouldn't be.
Because you're a trader. You'd be a great trader. But the idea of giving somebody the ability to have an opinion of you in any way is net negative a lot of the time.
Net negative. And it's, if you can control people's opinions of you by presenting something that you want them to see, that's the best case scenario. And when you're on a journey, you cannot control the perception, because something certainly happened and you are going to be an unreliable narrator in everyone's minds.
People who I've talked to on here, now you're one of the last people to do 39 days. You were there, what, 36 days, 37?
36.
36. Tell me about how bored you were on the days where nothing was happening. Because now there's no days where nothing's happening. There's very few out of 26. What was the length of boredom that you reached?
I don't know that boredom's the right word. I think that anxiety is the better word. And I almost got angry. I was angry on those days because you are sitting there in these horrible conditions. You are fucking starving. And on the days that nothing's happening, I would be like mad. I'm like, I'm here and today means nothing. It's progressing nothing. And I just have to be here. And it's not even like you can sleep the day away, like just try to relax, like try to ignore your hunger, just like get your head out, like, because you have to watch everyone constantly. When there's nothing going on, something's going on, production's just not hosting it. So you have to, where is everybody? What are they doing? What are the conversations happening? Like, who went to go look for firewood? Who's at the water well? So you have to be even more on. You have to be even more perceptive. And at the end of the day, nobody went home. So you just went through all that mental stress and you didn't forward yourself at all. So I wouldn't say I was bored. I would say I was pissed.
Yeah. And there's many of those days. You're pissed for many days.
Yeah. There was a good amount. Not as many as you'd think. But at least like 4 or 5, maybe. Yeah.
Yikes. Really bad. This new era where, everybody's it's every day you're doing something, and it'll be an adjustment for the folks who have had to do that day. Then maybe they're less angry. If people are like you, maybe they're in a better spot to do those things.
Because at least like every day that you're starving and dying, as long as like a challenge is happening, somebody's getting voted out, there's, something to move yourself along.
Yeah.
It's not quite as painful.
And it feels like the game is progressing. Like you're getting closer to the end of it.
Closer to something.
Yeah.
And that's why I am forever grateful that I did not deal with Edge of Extinction, because when they revealed that twist to us, however many days into the game, we had already experienced some of those off days. And I said to myself, I was like, if I like, just fucking kill me if I end up there, because every day would be an off day. And that would be the ultimate form of torture, in my opinion. Like, I honestly don't know how they did it out there. Like, just to sit there and wait for something to happen. And you are just in the same survivor conditions with nothing stimulating, and you're not necessarily moving towards anything. That is actually torture. So
I asked David, like, how much does it benefit having somebody like funny there with you on the Edge of Extinction? But you had Rick, who is funny just the whole time of the merge, who's just like, is that an entertaining thing for you to have? Like, does that make the situation better to have like the morale guy?
I don't know if Rick was the morale guy, because when he was in the game with me, nobody wanted him there.
Sure.
So I don't know that he was the funny guy when everyone was after him. But I think it definitely helps, at least me on a personal level. It was really helpful to have him as somebody to gossip with. And there was one person in particular that we both would always talk shit about. So that was helpful to me. I liked that. I liked having somebody who shared my sense of humor. I think the funny guy on the island, and I'm not saying this is Rick, this isn't Rick, somebody who's always trying to make jokes and like tell stories. I think they're probably annoying because they think they're the funny guy, but they're not. Sure. But somebody with a genuinely good sense of humor, or somebody more than just a good sense of humor, somebody who matches your sense of humor and your personality, I think that's invaluable.
Is there anybody on season 50 other than Rick that you're hoping does really well? Anybody that you have like a personal connection with?
I have some personal connections, but am I hoping they do well? Not necessarily.
Sure.
Thank you for this again. I'm looking at the names. I mean, I've never met Christian. I think I spoke with him once online, but I just like him. I want to see him do well. I just think he's adorable, and I like him.
It's interesting because he is like universally beloved, and I think he's the only person here that's universally beloved.
Yeah,
and I wonder how that factors in.
I would like to see Genevieve do well. I think I respect her. I don't know if I want to say most. I'm going to say most out of the new era players here.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And why is that?
I just remember feeling she was very strategic.
Yeah.
And not annoying, and a little bit villainous, maybe.
Sure.
Who I like is very personal to me, really. Not. I mean, it usually is about their gameplay. If they're a bad player, I'm not going to like them. But
Yeah.
I remember also finding her pleasant. I heard Kyle was a great winner, and I've heard he was really good, like him and Camilla. I saw
Yes.
again only some of the season.
They are great, and he's the best. And I don't know if this is a situation where he is being set up to succeed, which is a bummer because I think that I would like to have seen him in like 5 years, the same way that like you see, people that won season like Michelle on Winners at War is like a nice couple year distance.
Right.
The return flight there with 22 people and D who really really want to win the game.
Right.
Seems like he's being set up for failure, but
I think for sure him and Camilla. Like I know enough that him and Camilla were like a tight thing, and like having them both there hurts the other.
And it's a bummer for Camilla too, who didn't get to win.
For her, yeah, because she didn't get to win. I like heard that she helped him in a lot of ways get there. Not that he didn't deserve it. Again, I'm speaking just on hearsay mostly. But yeah, big bummer for her because he already won, and people know that they were tight, and now they're a 2-for package, and that sucks. That she's probably not going to get to play how she wants to because of that. And I don't think we really have anyone else quite like that. I mean, Stephanie and Suri, you're telling me that they like were against each other in all these shows that they played, but they still played a bunch of shows together.
And the devil
right?
Better than the devil you don't,
right? So, I guess Christian, Angelina, and Mike are all the same season. I just find the spread so interesting.
Tell me about the spread.
Well, why did we skip? How many times have you spoken about this already? Probably. Why did we skip all of the 20s?
Yeah.
But we have 5 people from the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Or 6. No, 5. It's 5.
We have the 249 folks,
right?
As well as these
5 people from the last 2 seasons, but we skipped an entire 10 seasons in the middle, like that.
Yeah.
I'm just so confused by that. Like,
who's not there would you have liked to have seen there? Who's not? Obviously you, and a lot of people share that same sentiment. Who else from that group should have been there?
I mean, I think about like the brains versus beauty versus brawn season.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like that season had a bunch of people that like were memorable.
Yeah.
Where's Bryce? Where's my boy Bryce?
Where's Bryce?
Man.
I thought for a while this was the perfect when this was being like touted as like the celebration of what Survivor is. I think Bryce is a huge part of like this back half of the Survivor community being what it is.
He would be an old school player with love for the new people. And so that was interesting to me. I really thought he was going to get on it. I heard that Spencer was really close.
Yes.
Like these kinds of people, like
Raymond, I believe. He's now Raymond.
He goes by both, doesn't he?
Oh, does he go by both?
Well, his name says Raymond Spencer, so I think he'll respond to either. Well, he's putting on his own show now.
Oh, he is putting on his own show. I don't know if that's a secret, but he is putting on his own show.
Oh, he tweeted it.
Oh, he tweeted it.
He X'd it, tweeted it. What do you call it now? But anyway, like somebody, I know Cass would never go back on, but like somebody like Cass or like Malcolm. Like
Malcolm is a glaring omission for me.
Yeah, unless they called him and he said no, sort of thing, right? Or did all these people get called and say no? I guess I can't know that, but
well, Malcolm went out in a pretty shit way last time too. It sucks to go out 4th like in this crazy thing. I would have loved for more Malcolm.
I think everyone probably would have. But yeah, I just feel like there's some big names and faces that like people would have liked to see back and like to see back before they saw the people they just saw on their screens again.
Would you entertain a Big Brother run for yourself?
I will be honest, I've never seen it.
Yeah. I feel like you would be good at that.
I can't know. Don't really know exactly what it entails. But as a PSA to all who watch, I'm open to anything, really. I was almost on Squid Game.
I remember you told me that. You were almost in the first Squid Game.
Yeah, I was cast. I was actually fully cast. And then I think 6 days before I was supposed to fly out, they called me and like, bummer, bad news. Casting went in a different direction. I'm like, what do you mean?
You were already cast.
I was already cast. I had filled out I'd sent back the contracts. I'd taken off time from work. I'd canceled lots of stuff. And then, like 6 days before I was uncast.
Yeah.
So I'm open to another show challenge based, lying based. Those are my favorite things. Strategy based. I'm not open to a Love Island based show.
Because you have a lovely boyfriend who I've met and is great.
Is our anniversary. Well,
June.
it's going to air on Friday, so Friday's not our anniversary.
So when you were in a DM Victoria and say congratulations on your anniversary, you will be 3 days late. Just know that when you send the DM. It is late. Tell people, Victoria, where to follow you. If you want that.
No, I feel free. I share stuff mostly on Instagram at Veebles the Rapper. No, I don't rap. This was an inside joke from high school when I first made this Instagram account in high school. And I never changed it. And now it's funny because I have a following and people think that I have a following perhaps because I'm a rapper, and now I can never change it. So at Veebles the Rapper.
You are a very good singer.
I can sing, yes. That is, thank you for the compliment.
I don't know where I've heard you sing, but I've heard you sing and it's very good.
I don't know where you've heard me sing either. I do a lot of karaoke, mostly with Brooke from The Amazing Race.
Shout out to Brooke. Brooke's on the floor.
Brooke is on the floor. Everybody watch Brooke on the Floor.
The Floor is a TV show for those.
It is, yeah. We should make that clear.
Yeah.
She has been on the floor of a karaoke room. I have a good picture of that. It's very funny.
Yeah, I feel like I have seen that a couple times.
I might have shown you. Yeah,
sure.
You should come do karaoke with us. But yeah, mostly Instagram is where I post the most. I lurk a bit on X. I will tweet about Survivor usually when I'm watching it. I do enjoy a little smoke and live tweet session.
Sure.
So you feel free to follow me there. And that's it. Those are my only platforms. I technically have a TikTok. Wow, I couldn't even think of the name. I'm old. I don't use it though. So if somebody's posting is me there, it's not me.
Okay.
That's it. Instagram's where I'm at usually. Yeah. Send me funny reels. I'll laugh at them.
I'm thrilled that you came. This was so much fun. Shout out to Rick Devens. We'll be back next time with another episode of the Survivor 50 Files. My name is Brandon Donlon, and we'll talk soon. We're back again in this supersized episode of the Survivor 50 Files. You didn't think we were going to talk about Rick Devens without having his best friend here to talk about him, right?
Exactly.
We got Gavin Whitson here. We caught him on a day where he wasn't in a Disney park, which is one of the 5 a year that he's not in.
Yeah, leave tomorrow. So got to keep this short and sweet.
How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. How are you? I'm excited to be here. I think this is my first time ever on Rob Has a Podcast. I was too salty to talk whenever season 38 ended. So I'm here for a very good reason. That's for, my BFF Rick.
How do you reflect on your experience now, like a couple years out?
Still very salty. I don't think that's ever going to go away. Whenever you're that close to having that much amount of money, I know you don't know what it feels like, but it does. It's
the ads though that I'm making, Gavin, from this podcast are much more than you were going to make that day.
That's true. It is. It does. It still hurts. And, honestly, I haven't watched Survivor in a hot minute, and I'll blame that on, being a dad now. We watch Elmo until 10 p.m. Ellie, she's still awake right now watching Baby Shark. But yeah, super thankful for everything Survivor gave me. But that wound is still fresh, and it's probably always going to be fresh. And that's just part of it.
How do you think Elmo would do on Survivor?
I would be a lot more positive about losing than I would, so he
Sure. Yeah. I feel like what a good teammate to have.
Yeah. He might do the social game kind of like me. He would be a social king, but otherwise I don't know.
You played Survivor with a couple dads, including Rick Devens.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself doing like dad tendencies that you witnessed from the men that you played with?
They paved the path, and I think every morning whenever I wake up, I say, what would Eric Hafman do? What would Rick do in this situation? So that's really what I try to live by. Yeah. But no, being a dad now, like I feel for these people who are out there on Survivor 50 and they have kids, because I don't know how they do it. I was crying on Survivor, and that's, it's embarrassing to say. But I was crying because I miss Carly, and that's not even your blood at that point. So whenever you have a kid and you're missing them, it puts a whole nother spin on it. So as I'm watching season 50, I've got to pull for the parents because I know they've got that little extra motivation that you don't realize you have until, you have that kid. So yeah, being a parent, it does change things.
Have you been crying at home because Rick Devens is gone?
Yes, every Thursday night around 10 p.m. That's whenever we play. We've played Fortnite together every Thursday, basically since Survivor ended. And, we haven't stopped outside of vacations whenever I'm at Disney. So about every other week we don't get to play. But, usually we're every Thursday. And yeah, it's been tough. We still have a group text going and we text him, just letting him know. I mean, nothing important has really happened right now, going on in the world.
Nothing that I missed. There's a guy,
Yeah,
Ben,
no.
you didn't watch season 46, but Ben Katzman, who was on season 46, he ran into Big Justice at the airport.
Okay, there
That's
you
the
go.
biggest update that I think I have in terms of global stuff.
Well, I was going to say, we'll have to fill him in on that because I haven't told him about that.
Put that in the group.
But yeah,
were you guys close on the island?
we were, and that's what's funny is it never showed that, and you would have never known that. But really, I think we hit the merge on day 17, and me and Rick, we just connected talking about The Office. It's and sometimes that's all you need is that little connection. And I think everyone else probably hated us because of that, because we would just be quoting Andy Bernard and Michael Scott just back and forth at each other, and they're like, "What are these idiots talking about?" Sure. So yeah, we were super close, and I think maybe part of the reason that it wasn't shown, one, I probably needed to act a little bit more excited, to get an edit. But outside of that, we never worked together. It's like we could hit it off, but whenever the sun went down, I was still going to try to vote him out, and he kind of knew that. So it was just one of those, maybe off the game separated from heart. I don't know what you want to call it. But yeah, we were able to connect out there, and we've been BFFs ever since. I think something that really stood out, Rick's gone, and hopefully he's in like the final 6 right now. But Becca, she texted me the other day. She had a question about something with the Nintendo Switch. She was getting Jack one, and she's like, "Hey, what time do I need to go to GameStop to get this?" And like, that's pretty dang cool that I was the person that she texted. If Rick's not there, then who's the next biggest man child that she knows? And that's me. So
did you get your Nintendo Switch too?
I did not. I'm strictly PS5. Like I said, I only get to play like once a week. So I'm not going to push my luck, but
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. What was it like for you when Rick told you he was going to season 50?
Obviously, Rick's not someone who's going to break his NDA. So I didn't find out until whenever they announced it. But, we had hypothetically talked about like, how cool would it be if one of us got to play again? And I knew that day was going to come. I was hoping it was going to be before season 50 for Rick's sake. But I think maybe in the long run, it's going to help him, waiting 12 seasons for him to get that second chance. So I'm super excited for him to finally have that opportunity. And just the way, and kind of like I said, I'm not going to be the best to give in-depth analysis. I'm on Twitter. I know who these people are, but I still think with the amount of time that's passed, I think he's in a heck of a lot better spot than if he would have been on season 40 or season 41, something like that.
Do you have any insight into the prep that he would have done if he hypothetically played Survivor again?
I know, back in the day, he quit his job. I don't know if that was because of Survivor, if that was because Sia, shout out Sia for giving him that extra money. But I feel like he was ready back then. Like after season 38, he was ready, and he even got LASIK, so like he wasn't going to have to worry about the glasses anymore. And that's the only thing that concerns me now is Jonathan doesn't have glasses either. So there's going to be like some comparisons. They're like, is that Rick? Is that Jonathan? Who's pulling that boat in the ocean? But yeah, I think, and honestly, like whenever you looked at Rick on season 38, he didn't necessarily stand out like physically whenever you're looking at him compared to some of these people. You had dang Joe, or I guess he who should not be named. You had Chris Underwood, had myself, who's just a beast. You had Eric. We had some physically fit guys, Keith, and going into that, like Rick didn't stand out, but he was the one who was performing every single challenge. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it's going to be that same thing. You've got all these guys, you've got Ozzy, you've got Colby, who are a little bit more seasoned, but they're still in super good shape. And, I feel like Rick is in a lot better shape than probably he was that first season, but I still think that he can manage his threat level and kind of slide under the radar.
Yeah, people forget that he was really, really good at those.
He was a beast at everything. It wasn't just the puzzles; it was the physical as well,
and the finding of the idols.
Yeah, see, that's something I have no experience with. I got ripped on that because I felt like it wasn't a necessity whenever you put yourself in such a good spot, but
Sure.
And hopefully Rick doesn't have to do that this time, but he's a magnet, but he's a hard worker. So,
Yeah.
He had that work ethic out there. I was pretty dang lazy. I blame it on me being a little bit more on the scrawny side. I had no energy out there, but yeah, he's going to do whatever it takes. And going into that, I hope that he, in his second opportunity, he plays more like Tony Vlachos on season 40 than he does season 34. I think for Rick to be successful, he has to manage his threat level, and he has to know when he can act crazy and be Rick Devens and when he needs to pull back and kind of fall into the shadows. So he can let some of these other newer people or some of these bigger egos from these earlier seasons kind of go at it, and he can beast out whenever the time comes.
You don't watch anymore, but they have these people go on these journeys, and they get on the boat, they go to the island, and then they win like a little advantage or something. They play a game.
Okay.
Rick's gonna be all over that. Rick's going on all the journeys.
Yeah. Is it by choice? Do you get to volunteer for it?
You get to volunteer for it, but Rick's volunteering for the journeys.
I don't know. That's what I'm hoping is if Rick's smart. And, he's had that second opportunity. He knows what it's like to play with house money, but Rick's back playing with his money. There's not going to be that second chance. And I think that he'll think about that. I think he's going to be a little bit more careful, if I would think so. But yeah, he's going to be Rick Devens, but I hope he can be Rick Devens in confessionals and not as much in tribals where he's this high performer where everyone's like, we've got to get this guy out ASAP, so.
Is that house money mentality like the best part about coming back from the edge? Like, is that the biggest benefit that he has from that experience?
I would think so. I mean, he had that extra life, and not many people know what that feels like, but Rick does, and he did it to the fullest extent. But I think he can take what he learned from that second opportunity and hopefully do that for 26 days. I would assume the game's going to be 26 days again. But yeah, that's my hope for him is he's still Rick Devens that, gets to that end and everyone's rooting for him, but he has to be more tactful in the way he gets to the end. And I think he's aware of that. And I think I'm excited to see him do that.
I wouldn't even call it a concern, but my thought with Rick Devens is I don't think there's another player who would make a meal out of a White Lotus performance more than Rick Devens.
And that's hypothetically, if Rick and I talked before the season, that was our main takeaway is do not screw this up for me. I have one opportunity to get on the White Lotus and it's right now.
Sure.
So, don't be calling me to ask about Rick after, if he pisses Mike off. If he votes Mike out, then me and Rick are done. So
we'll
Brandon,
delete this.
You can, yes, the whole thing's gone.
Do you want to get a soundbite in really quick about Mike White? Do you want to just get something to have?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, what do you want to do? Because there's so many things that we talked about with Mike White. Sure. So just going through that, some of the things, off the top of my head, we were talking about, in order to get on Mike's good side, some of the things we can talk about is our favorite movies. I think with season 48, who was it, Kyle and someone else on this season, they talked about how Holes was their favorite movie. Mike White has no idea. The Emoji Movie is Rick's favorite movie.
Sure.
Emoji Movie, School of Rock, and White Lotus. Like that's literally all we talk about. We're like, do you remember that one scene in the Emoji Movie? It was so funny. And so like, I'm hoping that whenever they're sitting around the campfire, like it can just organically come up like, hey, this reminds me of that one scene. Yeah. And, just making that common ground. So like he can solidify, getting us out to Thailand or Fiji would be cool, but whatever it is. Yeah.
Pretty cool. How was your flight to Fiji? Did you enjoy the flight?
That was honestly, that was my biggest flight, outside of that. And whenever I went through casting, it was that same thing. I'd flown to Florida once, and that's like an hour and a half flight. And, I think that was part of the reason that I got cast on Survivor in the first place is I was so inexperienced with life, the way I talk. I got on the Uber and I was telling Jeff and Matt and those guys, I was like, hey, the Uber, that was the first time I'd ever been in an Uber. They were taking us through somewhere in LA, and there's this big building with a G on it. And I was asking him, I was like, hey, is that Google? And he said, no, that's our movie theater. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I was just blown away and just trying to have casual convo. He's like, what an idiot. But yeah, the flight there, it was fun. I think I was able to watch a movie, but it was more just me, my balls were in my throat, just thinking like, what in the heck have I gotten into? And just kind of sizing everyone up. It's an experience. I mean, you know how it is. It's very, very different. It always reminds me now of like the Hunger Games. It's just like you're sizing up your competition and you're just looking at everyone, and it's a surreal thing that only a few people get to experience.
Yeah, it's so funny because people have compared this particular season to the Hunger Games. Like, there's a couple, like you have Kyle and Camilla who were just in this last season, talking about holes like duos. Like you have the districts. The districts are
Yes.
here. And
absolutely.
If they went
Rick's
with
District 1, Rick's District 1, he's a.
If they
Rick
went
and
with a district theme,
Yeah.
you would have been there. You would have been there together. I guess they do man and woman on the districts. Is that right?
Well, you never know. It can be. Yeah, I was going to say I would take a spot.
Is there any strategy that Rick can take from Fortnite into Survivor 50?
Yeah, there's a lot of different strategies that we play. We can do the Rick Devens approach, or we can do the Gavin Whitson approach, and hopefully he's going to do the Gavin Whitson, which is where you hide in a bush until that final circle, and then you just hope to shoot someone in the head as they run by. But if not that, then it's you get a strong team and you work together until that certain point, and then you've just got to ball out, and that's what Rick is capable of. And kind of like you said, tying it back into the Hunger Games and these districts and all these people, you've got these legacy characters like Haymitch and Sari and Ozzy who have played for the 48th time, who I can't wait to see play again because I know they've got a lot of different things that they haven't done the first 12 times. And outside of that, you've got other people who have played together. And those are the people that we need to be worried about picking off, not someone who's kind of a standalone. So yeah, I think Rick, our Thursday nights, if he wins, it's going to be because of the training that we've done for the past 7 years on Fortnite. And going into that, I'm super excited to take full credit for it, depending on how he does.
Sure.
But yeah, so if he camps in a bush, I'm going to be proud of him because that means he's making it to the final three. And I know that he has the capabilities that I didn't to persuade that jury to vote for him. So if he does that, then I'm going to be super proud of him. And if he goes out, in that first storm, that's because he went down fighting, and then I'm still going to be proud of him that way as well. And hopefully my internet maybe. Hold on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think the internet may have. Oh, we're back.
Okay.
We did it.
There we go. We're good.
Do you know about how Rick was going to be the shopkeeper if they went that route where he was going to like own the general store of Survivor?
So, and going back to Mike White owes Rick now because he ruined that opportunity for Rick. And we didn't even talk about that. But honestly, like, he should be a shoo-in for something like that. That's the equivalent of a speaking role, hotel manager or something. But I don't think he had any clue about that. Like, it was like all news to us at the same time. And we discussed it over Fortnite. And Rick's like, what the fuck, come on, Mike. So yeah, that would have been awesome. Also,
you love Disney. What is the Disney ride that it closest resembles Survivor?
Are you asking? I still love Survivor either way. But are you asking Gavin, who is out there as a super fan, who is super excited for the opportunity, or Gavin, who's now watching again, for the first time in a hot minute, just due to time constraints, and he is excited to watch again? There's two different people riding the ride.
I would take both of those answers. Okay. Give me both.
Let's see. I think first Gavin, super fan Gavin, who's getting out there for the first time. It's like Tower of Terror. You know that you're getting ready to be on some hell of a ride, and you're not sure exactly what sequence it's going to take, but you have that idea of how it's going to finish. And I think that was me. I knew what I was getting into, but I really didn't. You can be an armchair quarterback and think you can do everything. And I remember saying in those interviews, I know more about Survivor than anyone on that season. I remember people talk crap on me because we had all those returning players. I still think I probably knew just as much as anyone, but yeah, it's one of those things where you think it's going to happen, but you're getting ready to have some drops and those sequences that you don't expect. And but still, it's a great ride nonetheless. And let's see, Gavin now. There's a new ride. It's called Guardians of the Galaxy, and I personally don't care for the movies. It's one of those things, but I experienced the ride, and it was one of those life-changing experiences, and that's what I'm hoping this is going to be for me. I haven't gotten to watch too much of the new era now, so this can be that opportunity for me to get hooked back into something that maybe I wasn't watching or wasn't necessarily interested at this time just due to personal reasons. But yeah, so Guardians of the Galaxy, it's one of my favorite rides now. So still haven't seen all the movies, but it's one of those things like you can appreciate something for what it is, even if you don't necessarily feel that you're attached to that anymore.
What a beautifully articulate answer for a throwaway funny question. That's so great. I got violently ill in Guardians of the Galaxy with two of the people pictured.
So you wrote Guardians. Yeah. No, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Me and Dee and Emily were in horrible shape after the Guardians of the Galaxy, as was Julie, who was also on my season.
Okay.
We got off that, and I couldn't look up for 30 minutes.
No, it is. I love Guardians. It's so good.
Is there anybody here that you have a strong feeling towards? Maybe there's somebody that you watched that you enjoyed, or somebody who you saw in passing on Twitter or something that you enjoyed their presence?
Yes. So obviously, Rick, he's a no-brainer. I'm super excited to see Christian again. And that's someone that I hope Rick can link up with. But not only that, I hope Rick can use Christian as a shield. I think Christian is one of those people who can maybe, and it depends on how close he is with Angelina and Mike, that trio, that can be dangerous. But overall, I think Mike White, if Rick doesn't win, honest to God, I think Mike White is your winner. I think people are going to vote for him because, for one, you're not going to vote him out because you want to get a spot on season 4, season 5, season 6, whatever it is. If I vote out Mike, then he's definitely not putting me on the show. Mm-hmm. So some people aren't going to vote for Mike in that pre-merge stage because of that. Same going into merge. And then, hell, if you're on the jury, why are you going to vote for Jonathan, Aubry, whoever it is, any of these 18 people over, or 26, 38, how many ever people there are, why would I not vote for Mike? Because that's going to benefit me again. So I really think, if Rick's not in that final 3, I think Mike's a shoo-in to get in there. And I'm okay with that. It's not that he needs the money, but I think all of these people are going to be looking out for themselves again. And, yeah, so I'm excited to see how that plays into this season, and excited to see Chrissy again. I'm leaning more towards that era that I'm most familiar with, and also I got to show some love to Colby. Not even love. I'm just curious to see how this season's going to play out, because I think the last time we saw Colby, he wasn't on steroids, so I'm super excited to see kind of what he does now, because I looked him up on Instagram. He's a big dude. So, him, Rick, Jonathan, like that type archetype, I'm excited to see what happens.
They're going to be out for blood, those folks, exactly. And they all want each other. They all want to be the biggest
exactly
guy.
So yeah,
the Mike White point is interesting because if you're on the jury, you've already lost, right? And the Mike White in the final 3 is like the only return on investment jury vote that's ever existed.
If Rick's not there, if I'm on that jury and Rick's not in that final 3, it doesn't matter what they say at Final Tribal Council. Mike White has my vote. Mm-hmm. And I think if Mike White gets there, I think there will be other people with that same mindset.
Why not? My voting confession will be like, I would like a speaking role.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you just put it in the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm putting whatever role I want on the White Lotus below his name, bar attendant or whatever, sure. Bartender,
Sure. Gavin, this was so much fun.
No, it was great. Yeah, I was happy to come out of retirement for this, and only for you, Brandon.
You heard that. This is great. Thank you for joining this supersized episode of the Survivor 50 Files. We will be back next time with another episode. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Goodbye. Thank you to our friends at Manta Sleep for sponsoring this episode of the Survivor 50 Files. You've made it to the end of the podcast. You've been here long enough. Let me show you my sleep mask, the one that I use and I use every night. Here it is. I've worn this every night for the past couple years. Minus the 4 nights that I spent on Survivor, the television show. And it sucks to get voted out of Survivor, but a little bit better when you know you're going back home to this. This is 100% light blackout for deeper sleep. You put this on, can't see anything. When I watched the first 2 episodes of Survivor 45, I put this guy on. I don't have to relive it, which is great. It's adjustable for a personalized fit. You can see I have quite a big head. I don't want to show you the details of, I've kind of worn out the elastic, but it's durable. This guy hasn't broke. I've worn it every night for the past couple of years, and it's zero pressure on your eyelids or eyelashes. I've converted so many people to getting this sleep mask when I wasn't doing this, and I want to convert you. Use promo code 50files. That's 50 FILES on the Manta Sleep website to get 10% off your order. That's 50 files, 50 FILES. We'll see you soon.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.